This weekend, Nyck De Vries made Williams look very, very silly and embarrassed Nicholas Latifi for good measure. Is there any reason the Williams team shouldn't pick up Nyck De Vries in 2023? Let's not forget that before he was in a Williams seat, on Friday he was conducting a free practice outing for Aston Martin. De Vries is not even Williams' reserve driver. Williams' reserve driver for the 2022 season is Jack Aitken. But the man you may remember from taking Russell's seat for the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix was unavailable at such short notice because he was in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. So come Saturday, Nyck De Vries was thrown into a Williams car completely unprepared for a full race weekend. His dream of taking part in a Formula 1 weekend was finally realised, and then if we look at the performances of the Dutchman over the course of the weekend, they are staggeringly good. On the Saturday, De Vries comfortably outqualified his teammate in Nicholas Latifi, even with his best lap time in Q1 being deleted for track limits, and then Q2, a small mistake on the steering wheel cost him his final run. Luckily for Nyck, half the grid were taking penalties, and some of the drivers couldn't even work out where they were going to be starting on the Sunday themselves, but Nyck slotted in 8th place beside fellow countryman Max Verstappen in 7th for the start of the Grand Prix. I think it goes slightly under the radar that this is a driver in Nyck De Vries who has won both Formula 2 and Formula E titles in his career. The guy has racing ability in abundance, and he finally got to show that around Monza, and he followed the game plan perfectly. If it had been Alex Albon holding onto the back of an AlphaTauri and a McLaren, I would have been very impressed. But for De Vries to come in on minimal notice, and he said himself he wasn't even race fit, he could barely get out of the car after 53 laps, yet he still picked up points, and that is something else. I'm just very impressed that in his 4th time in a Formula 1 2022 car, after sessions with Williams in Spain, Mercedes in France, and then of course 2 teams over the past weekend in Aston Martin and then Williams, he was able to score points. Of course, having those sessions clearly would have been an amazing help. He wasn't going in completely cold, for instance, like Nico Hülkenberg at the start of the season, and having had those sessions, even having a session on the Monza track on the Friday is a huge help and a massive benefit as he's getting to know the circuit. Plus, we know that the Williams car generally performs better on lower downforce tracks. We've even seen that in the hands of Alex Albon on tracks like Spa, Australia, Miami, the Williams car can get itself off the bottom of the timing sheets, but in places like Monaco and Zandvoort, it stands absolutely no chance due to the package having such a lack of downforce. That's why coming into last weekend, many Formula 1 fans, including myself, had really high hopes and high aspirations of what Williams could achieve at Monza, which is where the real concern for Nicholas Latifi comes in. When he can't deliver on a track that car is heavily designed towards, he has a problem. Latifi's 3rd year in Formula 1 has not been good by any imagining of the word, and he has been consistently the worst performing driver in not only qualifying but also in the races. For me, this weekend was the final nail in the coffin that Latifi should be nowhere near the Formula 1 grid after this season ends. As I touched on before, this weekend was an opportunity for Williams to really thrive on a track that suits their package to a T. Nicholas Latifi then fell out of qualifying in Q1 and in the race limped home to a 15th place finish. He was comfortably outperformed by his teammate, who was in the car as an emergency backup, and if we compare their race pace, it's not even close. Which does make you wonder, how many other opportunities have they missed over the last 3 years because of the Canadian not being able to get anywhere near the best out of the car? There is a part of me that can slightly understand the reasoning for keeping him this season. Jos was clearly hoping that after losing George Russell, at least keeping one driver on would add some consistency, and Albon may not have hit the ground running like he has, and they would have had at least one driver that understood the dynamic of the team. Latifi works well with the team and seems like a great character to have behind the scenes at Williams, with many staff praising his dedication to helping the team try to improve. But in hindsight, looking back over the 2022 season, it seems like a huge mistake from the Williams higher-up to keep Nicholas Latifi in that seat for a 3rd season. Nyck De Vries coming in this weekend has only highlighted the shortcomings of the Canadian, putting together a more complete performance in one weekend than Nicholas Latifi has been able to produce in 3 years. Although Nyck De Vries was incredibly humble after his performance.
Ultimately it's not up to me to decide whether I should have a seat or not, and of course I can only do my job. I think we live in a competitive industry, so you're as good as your last race and you're always expected to perform. Luckily I did that this weekend and I grabbed this opportunity with both hands, but ultimately I'm not entitled to decide a driver lineup, but time will tell.
But I think the Dutchman can walk away from this weekend knowing that he did absolutely everything he possibly could to try and convince somebody he deserves a seat in 2023. And that Williams need to replace Nicholas Latifi desperately before the start of next season. At this moment in time, Williams, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, Haas and Alpine all still have seats available, with murmurs that the latter could possibly be keeping an eye on Nyck De Vries should the Pierre Gasly deal fall through. The shift in momentum with both Formula One fans and teams because of the performance that Nyck De Vries put in this weekend has been absolutely monumental. I was skeptical around De Vries getting a seat in Formula One after he'd been looked over so many times in the past 3 years, but the hype around him now has arguably never been bigger. With Williams junior driver Sargent still up and coming in Formula 2, I see no reason why Williams shouldn't give Nyck De Vries a shot for 2023, even if it's just for a year to see what he can do. He's not guaranteed to kill it absolutely every single weekend, he may not even outscore Alex Albon, but he is a big step in the right direction and a massive, necessary upgrade on Nicholas Latifi. What do you think? Is Nyck De Vries going to be able to get himself a seat in Formula 1 for 2023? Let me know in the comments down below. Whilst you're down there, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of the season. We've got 6 races to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Wow. Thank you very much. This has been incredible. Points on debut. Thank you.